Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Christina McNeil, and this is MB12 for Wednesday, May 30th, 2012, broadcasting from the Cable Top Studios on Robinson Road. In news tonight, government set to borrow more than $500 million to fulfill items in the 2012 budget. The opposition describes the new budget as lame. One of the men wanted by police in connection with yesterday's deadly nightclub shooting is now in police custody, and how dementia affects the elderly. We have those stories and much more coming up tonight. Your NB12 starts right now. Thanks for joining us. A major break for police today as they pursue suspects in the Ballers Club shooting. Police today arrested wanted man Stephen Stubbs. NB12 was the only station on the scene as police took Stubbs away.
So I said, well, what you all come for now? We come looking for him because we say he shoot somebody. I say he couldn't shoot nobody because he wasn't in no club.
We'll bring you the full details on that, but first we have another major story to get to. Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Perry Christie presented the much-anticipated 2012-2013 budget to Parliament today, pointing to a significant budget deficit and numerous challenges that lie ahead as the new administration tries to fulfill key election promises. Juan McCartney reports.
The new government remains committed to taking the country in a new direction, despite, Prime Minister Christie said, what the new administration found in place as far as the fiscal situation when it took office a few weeks ago. Christie said that the only way to stabilize the country's finances is through borrowing to the tune of more than $500 million. Christie revealed that the country's fiscal accounts are in much worse shape than the new administration expected. He said this year's projected GFS deficit outturn is significantly higher than had been projected. The deficit in 2011-2012 is now projected at $504 million, up by a full $256 million from the Ingram administration's estimate of $248 million. The Prime Minister said the new government has been met with a legacy of contracts the former government entered into in its final days in office. Christie announced that the new government will have to borrow $504 million to make up the shortfall. He spoke to the significance of the current deficit position.
It goes without saying that such a dismal deficit result translates directly into a marked deterioration in the government's debt position, both in absolute terms and relative to the size of the economy. Government debt at the end of 2011-2012 is now projected at just over $4 billion, or 50.6% of GDP. That compares to the projected level of 46.2% of GDP presented by the previous administration at this time last year.
The projected deficit in the approaching fiscal year is $550 million. The government projects recurrent revenues of $1.55 billion in 2012-2013 and recurrent expenditure of $1.8 billion. Capital expenditure in the upcoming fiscal year is projected at $400 million, essentially unchanged from the level in 2011-2012. Christie pointed to the $77 million the government must find to complete the New Providence Road Improvement Project. The Prime Minister said given the current fiscal reality, it's holding the line on recurrent expenditure to the maximum extent possible. He repeated his government's commitment to implementing national health insurance, holding a referendum on gambling, and putting in place its mortgage relief program.
Preliminary discussions with representatives of the clearing banks and other institutional lenders have already been initiated, and these discussions will continue with a view to arriving at a mortgage relief program in the shortest possible time. In the meantime, however, we wish to reiterate that the program was never intended to assist homeowners who have the means to pay their mortgage obligations, but simply decided not to do so. We therefore strongly urge all homeowners who have the means to do so to continue to meet their mortgage loan obligations as and when they fall due.
The Prime Minister also made this announcement regarding the government's plan to take back majority control of the Bahamas Telecommunications Company.
We remain faithful to our commitment to explore all lawful means by which majority ownership of BTC can be restored to the government and the Bahamian people. We shall very shortly arrange a timetable for discussions that we propose to undertake in this regard with the present owners of the majority stake in BTC and other interested stakeholders.
The Prime Minister said government debt at the end of the coming fiscal year is projected at $4.6 billion, or 54.5% of GDP. He said a total of $328 million, or just over 18% of total recurrent expenditure, will be spent on servicing the debt. While the government has acknowledged the many promises it made along the campaign trail and has promised its best to fulfill them, Ministry of Finance officials say this budget is all about ensuring the stability of the country's financial future. Reporting for NB12, I'm Juan McCartney.
Opposition members of Parliament aren't impressed with the government's 2012-2013 budget communication. In fact, newly elected leader to the Free National Movement, Dr. Hubert Minnis, called it lame and feeble, adding that it contains nothing new and innovative. He also defended the Ingram administration's management of the country's fiscal affairs over the past 5 years. Vonique Toot reports.
While the government was holding a news conference in the majority room, opposition members of parliament were holding a news conference of their own here in the minority room. Opposition leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says the government has presented what he feels is a lame, blame, and in many ways more of the same budget.
Having promised the world to the people of the Bahamas and having campaigned on the message that the FNM was borrowing too much, the Progressive Liberal Party has presented to Parliament a budget that makes a lame and feeble attempt at delivering a first deposit on its wild promises. It hardly has any offerings in the budget that presents the new and innovative initiatives it promised the Bahamian people.
Responding to Prime Minister Perry Christie's claim that the Ingram administration left a legacy of cost overruns and that its actions severely constrained his government's room to maneuver, Dr. Minnis says the government clearly ignored the drastic global economic circumstances faced over the past 5 years. FNM Senator and former Minister of State for Finance Shavargo Lang accused the government of inflating the deficit by including money allocated for programs to be completed the following year. He explained that funding for contracts flow over budget cycles. Dr. Minnis says that's how Mr. Christie came up with a deficit of $504 million rather than just over $300 million.
It pretends to be shocked at the fiscal circumstances the country faces. Also manipulating the numbers to make the present circumstances appear worse than it might otherwise be by charging off certain expenditure. It plays the blame game, showing no courage in reducing the large deficit it claims exists, either by taking appropriate revenue measures or expenditure adjustments. It relies now on a number of programs left in place by us to move it ahead.
Dr. Minnis says the FNM stands by its record of transparency and accountability. He challenged the government to publicize any alleged wrongdoing by the Ingram administration. As for Mr. Christie's announcement that the government would not introduce any new taxes, Dr. Minnis says that's not quite accurate because the introduction of national health insurance would likely result in a 5% levy. He also commented on the government's plan to set aside $15 million for initiatives announced in its Charter for Governance.
As he did in 2002, Mr. Christie put some $15 million in the budget for their plan. Yet no one can give an account for the $10 million put away in the budget in 2002. We have said before, this is the same old Christie, and he just can't change. Thank goodness that we left in place fiscal measures, including the Debt Management Committee, the program to initiate the Tax Administration Department, and the Real Property Tax Reform Program to give them some semblance of direction in these difficult circumstances.
The opposition leader says they'll have much more to say during the budget debate. Reporting for NB12, I'm Vonique Tude.
Now on to another major story tonight. NB12 was on the scene as police rushed into Ridgeland Park today and arrested wanted man Stephen Stubbs. Police yesterday said they wanted to question Stubbs in connection with that shooting at Ballers nightclub around 2 a.m. yesterday that left 1 man dead and 7 other people injured. Stubbs is already on bail in relation to several drug cases. Our Candia Dames was there as police took Stubbs away. Here's her report.
The doorway behind me is where police made their entrance here at this Ridgeland Park home around 1 p.m. and arrested Stubbs right here at his home. His family says that he was here during the time of that shooting, and in the hours after the shooting, relatives questioned why police took so long to come and arrest him if in fact he was a wanted man. The Stubbs family surveillance camera shows police pulling up to the Ridgeland Park home in several vehicles as they came to get Stubbs. Now watch carefully as they briefly observe the scene, then hop the wall to get into the yard. There was no major fuss as they entered the home, arrested Stubbs, and carried him away. His family said police broke through the front door, then went into several rooms before making that arrest. Now, we asked his girlfriend, Jacqueline Miller, who was in the home at the time, exactly what was happening inside.
He saw them pull up, but to find the key, because the doors can't open without the key, you know, you get a little nervous when you see the police. So by the time I find my key, they done up the wall, and they picked the front door. They came in, police is here, come out, and they put a handcuff on me and his niece, took him, and till they left. They searched every room, and then they left.
Did they find anything?
No, they didn't find anything.
What did they say?
They didn't say much. All they was like, yeah, we died, no, we come for him, so y'all straight or whatever, but they didn't really say much.
Stubbs' mother, Natalie Stubbs, claims her son is a homebody and was in the house the entire Monday night and Tuesday morning when that shooting took place at Ballers Club. Are you saying he was here all day yesterday while the police were having the press conference talking about the shooting?
He was right here watching, right here sitting down watching it. He was right here sitting down watching it on TV.
And it wasn't until today that they came for him?
Yeah, to come today. He was watching, I was watching it. He called me and said, Mommy, come see this. And I was watching it. And I watched and see everything was going on. And my son, everything happened to him. Everything happened to him. My son is a boy. He's a God. From people who started getting killed, he stopped going out. If he go in the day. But when night come, he don't go. So I said, Stephen, stay from club. I said, pastor in my church. I said, Stephen, stay from club. Because you know that I call your name. Stay away from club. So he don't go to club. The boy trying to serve God. And I mean, he said, Mommy, I try to do my best. And this is what they can do to me now. How can people serve God? You're changing your life, doing right thing, and people can come sit harass you? If 100 people get killed today, they can say he do it.
No surprises here. Police did some searching before they took Stubbs away, but at this point we're not so sure whether they found anything. We asked Mrs. Stubbs why her house has surveillance cameras. She says the family is used to visits from the police.
I have surveillance cameras in my house because they rely on my son. See, my son be out this hours and night, and my son do this and do that. So that's the reason why a policeman tell me, and his court, he tell me, he said, put surveillance, Stubbs, I know this be lying on your son. So I prove it and see. He said, put a surveillance inside your house. So I get it, put in the house.
Stubbs' sister also had this to say. How many times have police have to come in here to get your brother out of this house?
Every other time we spend around, they come around here. Even if they just got to ride through and look at this house.
They do that.
So the family is sort of used to used to the police presence?
I can't get used to it because I already getting fed up.
Now, we asked Stubbs' relatives why he did not turn himself in when he saw on the news that he was wanted by police. They claimed he contacted his lawyer early this morning, and the lawyer had promised to stop by sometime this evening to escort him to the police. NB12 has, of course, been on top of this story from the very beginning. We'll continue to follow developments related to the shooting and bring those to you as they become available. Reporting for NB12, I'm Candia Dames.